Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Welcome into Reaction Monday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We are live from the Lee Company studio. Glad to have you with us. And, of course, we have Mo Patton and myself, Chris Yow. Flags covering our faces and everything today. But such is life. Mo, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Looks like you've got some new spectacles working.
I am incognito today. These are my disguise glasses.
Oh, okay, okay.
I finally got them. On matter of fact, when I got off the air on Friday, I had missed a call and I picked it up and called them back and they said, "Hey, your glasses are ready." And I was like, "Yes." So new glasses. They're still growing on me. It's gonna be really weird looking at them on this screen.
But it's good that you can see though.
Oh, I can
assume that you could not previously.
Well, I could see just fine. It was just that, in matter of fact, she said your prescription hasn't changed much. It's just, I can see that your glasses, which I was missing an entire nose piece from where Charlie had hit me upside the head enough times that it broke completely. So
I hate when that happens.
It's brutal. And so I'm just like, man, I need to get some one piece, but I did go a little extra.
No, not you.
Little Armani, Armani exchange. That was a little extra.
Chris Yow extra. That never happens.
Out there.
There are no divas on this show anywhere. I don't care what you say.
Yeah. All right.
Now, glad to be back, man. It was a heck of a weekend. From a lot of different standpoints, but sports specifically, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But Mo, this is a sports show, but we cannot say that and start this show without saying that our hearts are going out to the family of Covenant School here in Nashville who are suffering a great tragedy today.
I'd like to say it's unbelievable, but clearly it's unfortunately not. And, it's happening everywhere. And today it happened here. And that's doubly unfortunate. And
yeah, we know, I know Mo is kind of frozen a little bit, but this is obviously not the first time it's happened in Middle Tennessee. Richland High School dealt with it, about 33 years ago, give or take. And It is. It's completely unfortunate, but our hearts are with the families there and with the folks in Middle Tennessee. And also to those folks in Mississippi who also suffered great tragedy via the tornado over the weekend, and many people throughout Northwest Alabama and some even in southern Middle Tennessee who had damage from those storms. We're thinking about you guys today as well. Now, we will try to lighten the mood, try to entertain you for the next hour and 25 minutes. But for the next 15 minutes, we're going to give you some scores and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy. Prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Baseball action Friday. Beach 5, Friendship Christian 1. Blackman down Smyrna 14-4. It was Bartlett 13, Columbia Central 4. Davidson Academy 12-2 winners over Providence Christian, and Green Hill 11-0 over Gallatin. It was Hampshire 11, Clarksburg 6, Clarksburg 14, Hampshire 7 in the second game of that doubleheader. Mount Pleasant 4-1 winners over Hickman County, and Independence Downs Brentwood 7-2. It was James Clemens of Alabama 5, Oakland 0. Knox Catholic 15-4 winners over East Robertson. Giles County down Lawrence County 8-2, and Loretto edged Richland 9-8. Hendersonville down Mount Juliet 11-3. Murfreesboro Central a 14-7 winner over Eagleville. It was John Overton 11, Nolensville 1. And Centennial 12-2 over Page. It was Riverdale 10, Creekwood 7. Bartlett 6-3 winners over Rockville. Spring Hill takes a pair from Scottshill 1-0 and 9-2. Stanhope Elmore of Alabama blanked Oakland as well 11-0. It was Station Camp 9, Plainfield Central of Illinois 2. Summit 2-0 winners over Henry County. Watertown takes 3 on Friday. Wow. Goodness. 9-2 over Mount Juliet Christian, 15-5 over White County, and 5-1 over Andrian, Indiana. Mm-hmm. And Elmwood Park of Illinois defeated Watertown in a fourth game, 12-6.
Well, they were tired.
I would think so. Goodness gracious. Wilson Central blanked White County 8-0.
On Saturday, Watertown fell to Beach 7-2. Columbia defeated Summertown 11-1. Christ Presbyterian Academy with a doubleheader sweep of Ravenwood 7-2 and 7-1. Knights Academy defeated Dixon County 7-2 and 14-10. It was Hendersonville defeating Donaldson Christian 9-0. Independence with a 5-4 win over Rossview. Overton down Harpeth 8-5. It was Lebanon 12, Smith County 9. Middle Tennessee Christian 5, Brebeuf Jesuit Prep of Indiana 4. And I hope I got that right, but I probably did not. Fairview with a 17-1 win over Montgomery Central. Collierville edged Oakland 2-1. Opelika of Alabama 10, Oakland 7. Columbia Academy with an 18-3 win over Portland. Stanhope Elmore of Alabama defeated Riverdale 19-1. Riverdale bounced back for an 18-6 win over Russellville, Alabama. Stanhope Elmore
tripled. Don't know.
Over Moore County.
Softball action. Beach 10, Gibson County 4. Warren County 6-5 winners over Blackman. It was Columbia Central 12, Hendersonville 1. Monteverde Academy 6-4 winners over Creekwood. Creekwood bounced back with a 9-1 win over White House, and Gordonsville also defeated White House 7-0. Middle Tennessee Christian down Franklin Road Academy 9-2, and Father Ryan 5-3 winners over Murfreesboro Central. It was College Prep of America out of Illinois 12-2 over Murfreesboro Central. Anderson of Indiana 3-1 over Riverdale. Floyd Central of Indiana 15-7 winners over the Warriors. Siegel 5-2 winners over Dyer County. Baylor 7, Siegel nothing. Smyrna 11, Lexington 9, Smyrna 13, Beach 1. Normal of Illinois 5-4 winners over Station Camp, and Camden Central 10-1 also over the Bison. West Illinois defeated Stewart's Creek 7-6, and Stewart's Creek defeated Shelbyville 8-0. Summertown a pair of wins. 8-7 over South Elgin, Illinois, and 14-1 over Science Hill. Plainview of Alabama defeated Zion Christian 17-3.
On Saturday, it was Beach 4, Washington of Illinois 3, Warren of Illinois 6, Beach 5, Normal of Illinois 7, Beach 6. Station Camp defeated Blackman 10-4. Westview defeated Blackman 11-2. Lincoln County blanked Dixon County 16-0. Also, it was Bedford North Lawrence of Indiana 9, Lincoln County 8. Lebanon with a 2-1 win over Meigs County. Anderson of Indiana defeated Murfreesboro Central 11-1. Plainview of Alabama defeated Murfreesboro Central 14-1. Silver Creek of Indiana defeated Riverdale 8-0. It was Siegel 7, Marshall County 1, Montverde Academy of Florida 4, Smyrna 1, Smyrna 6, Macon County 0. Nolensville with a 6-1 win over Stewart's Creek. Stewart's Creek came back to defeat Station Camp 9-3. Summertown with another couple of wins, defeating White County 12-5 and Hazel Green of Alabama 12-3. Camden Central edged Zion Christian 9-8, and Zion Christian with an 11-8 win over Page. On Sunday, it was Wakanda of Illinois 8, Riverdale 5, and Siegel 5, Lake Zurich of Illinois 0.
Boys soccer action on Friday. White House Heritage 2, Beach 2, Siegel 0-0 draw with Blackman. Rossview defeated Columbia Central 3-2, and Hendersonville blanked Green Hill 4-0, as did Montgomery Bell Academy by the same score over John Overton. It was Merrill Hyde 3, Valor Collegiate 1, Murfreesboro Central Magnet 3, Mount Morristown West 1, Rockville and Oakland 2-2 draw. Providence Christian defeated Pigeon Forge 5-4, and Riverdale and Stewart's Creek also played to a draw 0-0. On Saturday, it was Chucky Doak 10, East Robertson 1, Springfield 5-2 winners over Clinton's, Friendship Christian 3-0 over Westmoreland, and Greenville 2-0 over Murfreesboro Central. Providence Christian 4-0 over Campbell County, and on Sunday, Clinton defeated East Robertson 9-1, and Murfreesboro Central got Sevier County 2-1.
Girls flag football opened in Williamson County on Sunday. Brentwood defeated Nolensville 27-21. Ravenwood defeated Brentwood 34-13, and Nolensville edged Ravenwood 14-13. It was Franklin 13, Page 7. Also, the Lady Admirals with a 33-2 win over Centennial before Page defeated Centennial 20-7. Summit defeated Fairview 18-7. It was Fairview 7, Independence nothing, and Independence 25, Summit 13. Women's basketball of interest. Virginia Tech 73, Tennessee 64 in the Sweet 16.
That Brentwood, Nolensville, Ravenwood trio just goes to show that you can't be paying attention to scores.
Exactly.
That is insane. Baseball action. Vanderbilt sweeps Mississippi State in convincing fashion, though based on trends, if they'd played again, Mississippi State might have won. It was 26-3, 18-5, and 11-7. So Mississippi State was closing that gap as they kept going, but couldn't quite get there.
Another couple of games, and they might have got them. Yep. Wow.
Tennessee swept Texas A&M 10-4, 8-7, and 9-6, and Florida Atlantic having a heck of a weekend. 13-5 over Middle Tennessee State, 6-2, and 7-5 for the sweep.
Liberty took 2 of 3 from Austin P, and it wasn't without controversy. The Flames 12-1. Yeah, Austin P 18-15 and Liberty 6-5. Also, Belmont took 2 of 3 from Illinois State, winning 2-0 and 6-3, falling 11-7. Lipscomb took 2 of 3 from Queens, winning 15-10 and 8-0 on the beginning and end. Queens with a 6-5 Game 2 victory. Cumberland swept Bethel 12-2, 6-0, and 12-9, the latter in 10 innings. Thomas More and UT Southern split. Thomas More winning 11-2, UT Southern winning 8-6. And in junior college action, Columbia State took 2 of 3 from Jackson State, winning 19-6 and 4-1 before dropping the third game 15-3. Dyersburg with a 3-game sweep of Vol State 5-1, 5-3, and 3-0.
Softball action. Tennessee takes the series from Alabama 5-1 on Friday, 7-5 on Sunday. Alabama stops the 20-game win streak of the Lady Vols with a 4-2 win on Saturday. Middle Tennessee State took 2 of 3 from La Tech, 5-2 and 2-1 before falling on in the third game, 4-1. Austin P took the first 2, 3-0 and 2-1 over Queens before Queens bounced back with a 7-1 win in the final game. Southern Illinois down Belmont in the first one, 5-2, but the Lady Bruins bounced back 8-5 and 4-3. Jacksonville sweeps Lipscomb 4-3, 9-3, and 7-2, while UT Martin takes 2 of 3 from Tennessee State 6-3 and 5-0. The Lady Tigers a 2-0 winner in game 2. Cumberland sweeps UT Southern 7-1, 11-5, and 7-0, while Jackson State in junior college play takes 4 from Columbia State 11-0, 9-5, 8-0, and 5-3. Dyersburg State and Vol State split on Sunday 6-3 for Dyersburg State, and Vol State winning 9-1.
In the National Hockey League, I don't know if it's the curse of Pecorine or not, but the Preds have not won since erecting the statue. Make of it what you will. Fell to the Kraken
7-2. Maple Leafs won 3-2.
But a win over Atlanta, 123-119. And in MLS, FC Cincinnati with a 1-0 win over Nashville SC. Today's high school baseball schedule: 4 o'clock starts for Smyrna at Antioch and Friendship Christian at Mount Juliet Christian. 4:30, Providence Christian plays a doubleheader at Battleground Academy. Also, Clarksville Academy is at Good Pasture. Cane Ridge is at Maplewood. 5:30 starts for Franklin Simpson, Kentucky at East Robertson and Smith County at a tired Watertown. At 6 o'clock, Santa Fe is at Collinwood. Nolensville is at Columbia Central. Culleoka hosts Wayne County. Donaldson Christian travels to Ezel Harding. Laverne hosts Stewart's Creek. Cookville is at Mount Juliet. Davidson Academy is at Nashville Christian. Spring Hill goes to Page, and Liberty Creek is at White House.
At 6:30 tonight, Richland will host Hampshire, and Siegel will take on Vernon Hills of Illinois. Clarksville's at West Creek. Downers Grove, north of Illinois, is at Blackman. Centennial hosts Brentwood. Grace Franklin is at Columbia Academy, and Hume Fogg is hosting McGavick. Also at 6:30, Summit is at Independence. Joe Burns at home against Sycamore. John Overton taking on visiting Hillwood. Lincoln County goes to Lawrence County, and Lewis County is at home against Loretto. Giles County is at Mount Pleasant. Webb Schools at Middle Tennessee Christian. And at 7 tonight, Beach hosts Springfield. Portland's at West Creek. Dixon County at home against Ravenwood. Fairview hosting Harpeth, and Greenbrier is at Montgomery Central.
Softball today. Wakanda of Illinois plays Summertown right now. 2 o'clock start there, followed by Siegel and Summertown at 4. At 5, Macon County is at Westmoreland. Also at 5, South Haven will play a doubleheader at Zion Christian. Fort Campbell, Kentucky is at Clarksville Christian. Laverne is at Columbia Central. Nashville Christian's at Ezel Harding. Lipscomb Academy is at Friendship Christian. Spring Hill is at Lawrence County. Springfield hosts Gallatin. At 5:30, Page is at Lincoln County. At 6, Hendersonville takes on visiting Davidson Academy. Culleoka travels to Lewis County. Station Camp is at Green Hill at 6:30. On the pitch, Lebanon plays at Macon County at 5. At 6, Culleoka hosts East Hickman. At 7, Fayetteville is at Giles County. And in girls flag football action up in Montgomery County, West Creek goes to Clarksville. That's a 6 o'clock. I don't think it's a kickoff, but it's a 6 o'clock start. And
hold on just a second, real quick. This is my fault. Just for point of clarification, Columbia Central and Laverne softball is at 4:30 today. So if you're trying to get there at 5, get there at 4:30. It'll start a little earlier. That's my fault. That is your rundown. Try to be as accurate as possible. Goodness, I was close. I said 15. We got it done in 13, Mo. That's
I don't know what your addendum was because I was.
Oh, you missed me?
Yeah.
I apologize. It was Columbia Central and Laverne at 4:30, not 5, and that's on me. I failed to make the correction that I knew was right. So anyway, I wasn't expecting a top story today. We don't really have time to get into it, but we did have a question, so we'll answer that first and foremost from Old Geezer. Folks writing about the Lamar Jackson's availability relative to the Titans, and we talked about this a little bit last week with Ben Arthur. And if folks are writing it, they're wasting their time, Mo. Don't. I mean, that's
as it relates to the Titans. Now, I saw a post earlier today. Lamar Jackson on Twitter cleared the air and said that he did request a trade.
Yes,
but I just do not think that that is anything that's going to involve the Titans. It looks like Washington, contrary to whatever anyone else has written, is the expected destination if he moves. Now, I don't know what more to tell you.
Someone mentioned the Jets, which
the Jets are in on everybody.
I was going to say the Jets are who can we get at this point? And good for them. I mean, obviously they're, Robert Saleh is not in on Zach Wilson, period. He's just not. That guy's not, he's not going to be playing in New York. So, and that's perfectly fine. So I guess, the Jets have got to find a quarterback, and there are two of them out there that they feel like they need to get. But how do you trade for a quarterback when you've done nothing but acquire assets for a quarterback? You don't have anything to trade.
I guess I thought the Jets were getting Aaron Rodgers.
That's what I'm saying. They're in on Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, and Aaron wants to be there, but clearly if the Jets had something the Packers wanted,
yeah,
this would be a done deal. It'd already be over.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Your guess is as good as mine.
To back up a previous statement you made, you've got a better chance of starting a quarterback for the Titans than Lamar Jackson does. Not Lamar Rodgers,
or Lamar Alexander for that matter. So anyway, I don't think there's any. If they're writing it, they're wasting their time. That's just
doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
It doesn't. So, all right, we'll take our first break. Eric Henry, as you see there, is standing by, and he's covered Conference USA basketball all year long. So we will talk to him right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll come back to the Lee Company studio. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton in the Lee Company studio. Glad to have you guys with us. The Lee Company studio is our homes right now. They're remodeling our studio on West 7th Street in downtown Columbia, so please bear with us as we continue to work from our homes, but it's working out so far. Looking forward to our next conversation. We had a heck of a weekend, crazy weekend in NCAA March Madness, and it certainly has been madness from day one, hasn't it?
We talked about it running up to the tournament, Chris. We said that we felt like this thing was as wide open as it has ever been, and I don't think anybody predicted. I feel confident saying nobody predicted Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, UConn, and Miami. But I mean, at least you were warned.
You know who's happiest today? Joseph Sullivan, the mid-major lover, former Boston Globe sports editor, friend of the show. He's fired up that mid-majors are getting their love today. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun as the Final Four gets set. Two mid-majors will play one another, so at least one will play for a national title. And we're going to talk about one of those with Underdog Dynasty's Eric Henry joining us now. Eric, what's up, man?
Chris and Mo, what is going on, fellas? It's nice to join y'all again. One of my favorite parts of the Conference USA landscape there, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So appreciate y'all having me on.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, man. And wild times down in Dade County, I guess, huh?
Well, Mo, here's the thing. When is it not wild times in Dade County, right? Like, I think if you're referring to the basketball, the answer would be yes. If you're referring just to a day-to-day experience down here,
this is normal.
Ain't nothing new, huh? It's just Monday.
Ain't nothing new, especially this time of year with spring break. But no, I think you're referencing is the basketball. I mean, what a time for the Hurricanes. You talk about a program, it's got a lot of recognition that the program was actually shut down. Up until 1985, it took I believe a 17-year hiatus. They come back. And I mean, Miami basketball is something that obviously has gone overshadowed over the years because of the success of Miami football in the 80s and the 90s. But when you go back and look at their pedigree, right, Leonard Hamilton, current Florida State head coach, did a great job building that program back up from the early 90s all the way through 2000. Then had a stretch there with Frank Haith and Perry Clark. And now Jim Larrañaga took over that job. It's been almost 13 years now. And you see really the success he's been able to have there at Miami, really consistent. They had a brief stretch, 2016, 2019 didn't make a tournament. But now you see in the NIL era, you have a big money booster, a big money benefactor there as far as John Ruiz able to convince arguably one of the top players in the tournament, Isaiah Wong, to stick with the Hurricanes. It's actually a pretty interesting story. He had one foot out the door this offseason. He returns back to Miami and they make a Final Four run. So really everything's come together for University of Miami. And then, of course, I'm sure we can talk about the Florida Atlantic Owls up there in Palm Beach County as well, about an hour north. Completely different story, but, just a really wild time here in South Florida as far as the basketball landscape is concerned.
It's crazy, Eric. You heard over the weekend. You knew this. I heard over the weekend that 17 years ago that Larrañaga took George Mason to the Final Four. Was that the number?
Yeah,
13.
I know he's been with Miami for 13 years. I believe it's 17 years since he took George Mason to the Final Four.
And it's crazy that he was old when he was at George Mason. It felt like 73 years old. He guides Miami to the Final Four, and like you said, if Miami is not Exhibit A for NIL working, then I'm not quite sure who is. But that takes nothing away from the job that he's been able to do with the personnel he's had at his disposal either.
No doubt about it, Mo. I mean, listen, the fact that Miami is able to benefit in the NIL landscape, it is what it is, right? You can't take anything away from that. They're just playing, within the rules, so to speak. But I think you also got to take a look at the transfer portal as a reason as far as Miami really being able to have a lot of success this year. 3 out of their top 5 scorers are players who didn't begin their career with the Hurricanes. Isaiah Wong, again, a kid who's been a stud his entire time and definitely had one foot out the door this offseason, was able to stay once they got his NIL deal taken care of. But you talk about Coach L, and I kind of chuckle when you say that, he was old at George Mason. It just goes to show that with a guy like Jim Larrañaga, and I mean, you can make that case for a multitude of college coaches around the nation, they have a measure of relatability to these young kids, these 18 through 23, 24-year-olds that, somehow, despite the fact that they're 3-4 times these kids' age, that measure of relatability. And I think you guys have seen him, dancing with his players post game and kind of that energy that he brings. And also a really, really good basketball coach. I mean, he did it even before the time of George Mason, was at Bowling Green, took them to the NCAA tournament, took George Mason, as you mentioned, to the Final Four several times, and, really knocked out of the park with his time in Miami. His second year, they won 27 games, and now this year pushing for a national championship. So, yeah, I mean, Coach L, really is a huge benefactor as far as, the Hurricane success.
Eric, when you tweeted last night, as soon as I saw it, I was like, we got to get him on. And so I messaged you immediately, but obviously the Final Four is the Final Four, and getting there is huge. But what does a Miami Florida Atlantic national championship, is the thought of it even, is that kind of making things wild right now down there?
There are a lot of feelings. I'll come to my personal feelings of why I tweeted out secondly, Chris. In terms of South Florida, if you know anything about South Florida, it is an event town. The fact that these two programs have made it to the Final Four at least brings the spotlight. It would have been a nice story had both these teams made it to the Elite Eight, but they lost. Now in the Final Four, it makes it a story. If both of these programs are able to win and qualify for the national championship game, then it becomes an event. And it's a multitude of reasons. A, you have Miami, the larger private school, or not so large, more well-known private school, the school that's most commonly associated with South Florida. And then you go an hour up the road to Boca and FAU, a public university that, in terms of student enrollment, probably triples the enrollment that Miami has. It's almost like a little brother type of thing in a sense. I know some FAU fans may take offense to that, but the fact of the matter is this, a lot of students, whether it be, FIU or FAU, a lot of them may have wanted to go to Miami and either didn't get in, or, along the way, they took pride in going to FAU or FIU. And now you've got this tremendous underdog story, right? Like the school that's an hour up the road in Boca really fighting for respect. So just in that sense, it's got this weird kind of dynamic with Miami being, again, square in Dade County, and then FAU being an hour up the road in Boca. Now, as far as my personal feelings, as a native Floridian, I don't really know what to make of this. As someone who, like I said in that tweet, I didn't go to either of these schools. I went to the University of Central Florida. And I think maybe Chris and Mo, I have some feelings, built in, because when you look at these two rosters, FAU and Miami, two very, very good college basketball teams, but you probably don't have a lottery pick on either. I mean, you could make the argument Isaiah Wong, he could climb up depending on how he fares a little later on. UCF has a kid in Taylor Hendricks who is projected to be a top 5 pick when UCF didn't even make the tournament. So maybe my personal feelings is like, man, I see these really, really good college basketball teams having success. And, my school that has got a guy who's going to go top 10 in the draft wasn't able to do it. But again, to kind of bring it back to the spotlight on those programs, I think it goes to show. I heard a really interesting stat this morning, guys. There are no McDonald's All-Americans participating in this Final Four, which is wild, right? Because you got San Diego State, obviously a really good program. UConn, a blue blood, maybe not in most recent years, but still a blue blood. But the fact that you have no McDonald's All-Americans participating is super interesting. But yeah, as a Floridian, I don't know what to make of this. But if we get the event, the national championship game being UM and FAU, it's going to be wild.
Eric Henry of Underdog Dynasty joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Eric, you've got a little bit more knowledge, you've got a lot more knowledge about both these programs than we do. Do they play? When's the last time they would have played basketball?
Man, that is a good question. I cannot rattle off the top of my head. I want to say, don't hold me to this. I want to say they played in 2014.
Oh, wow.
So I'm looking at 2021, Miami 68, FAU 66.
Oh, okay. There was the 2-point loss. Yeah. And that was in 2021. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
Florida Atlantic is 1-25 against their Their adversaries.
Right. And Chris, just to kind of, piggyback off of that point, FAU, and this is where you got to give all the credit in the world to Dusty May. I know they're going to feel and kind of seem like a one-hit wonder. They've been I don't think there's any way to put it, quite frankly, a afterthought in college basketball, really the entirety of their existence, right? I mean, they had 1 year in the Sun Belt that they qualified, and I want to say, or it might be 2 years in the Sun Belt they qualified for an NCAA tournament bid. But outside of that, or one of those years might have been an A-Sun tournament bid. But outside of that, they've been an afterthought, even in Conference USA, when you go back and look at their history. But this is a team that under Dusty May, they've been kind of bubbling up, didn't make an NCAA tournament prior to this year, but they did qualify for 2 postseason tournaments, a CBI and a CIT tournament, I believe, memory serves me correct, in his first year and last year. So this program has really come together, and you don't win 35 games by not being a really good team. So that's, again, why I say if you get that national championship game, it is going to be like the total, I don't want to say like nuclear, scenario, but it's going to be really interesting because it's the classic David and Goliath, the team, a Power 5 team with all the resources competing against a mid-major who it almost reminds you of like an old school basketball team where they have players who've been with the roster for 4 or 5 years compared to Miami that, as I mentioned, 3 of their 5 top scorers are out of the transfer portal.
And I think that's an interesting dynamic there, Eric, when you talk about Florida Atlantic being a team that, as the kids like to say nowadays, they came up out the mud. I mean, they've been together, they've kept it together. And when you've got a team with experience, not just experience, but experience together, you can get this kind of success in the college game where there's so much one and done and so much transfer portal and that kind of thing.
No, again, no doubt about it. I mean, especially for a mid-major, you take a look. I mean, let's use Conference USA as an example. I'll use FIU. They just lost one of their top players in Denver Jones to the transfer portal. You look across Conference USA, you see a top scorer here, a top scorer there, choosing to enter the transfer portal. I think we talk a lot about the portal in regards to football. We haven't fully seen its, for lack of a better phrase, its impacts in college basketball. And I think we're starting to see that trickle-down effect where kids from the mid-major schools are deciding, hey, I may be a one-and-done guy at the mid-major and then take my chances to the Power 5. So to your point, as far as being a team, and Dusty May even talked about this. He made a reference to this in his recent media availability, and good for him for calling it out. He said that he was a little bit miffed that some Power 5 schools have initiated contact with players on his roster, players who are not in the transfer portal, so good for him in my mind in calling that out. But to the point you made, as far as them being a team, it's one of the rarities in today's college basketball, especially at the mid-major level. They've been able to keep guys together under Dusty May, who these kids seem to really, really enjoy playing for, and build that team atmosphere.
So the next question, and sorry to cut you off, Chris, but I think the next question is I think the next question is the obvious question, Eric. Where's Dusty May next year?
That is it is the obvious question, Mo. And I've seen a lot of people say that, hey, Dusty May, can FAU keep him? What about the loyalty factor? The fact of the matter is this, and again, I believe it was The Athletic. I apologize if I got the publication wrong. Just released a story today talking about Dusty May took the job, and 24 hours after he took the job, actually wanted to quit.
Because it was CBS Sports, Matt Norlander.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Yeah,
I'm looking at the tweet. Sorry, it's the only reason.
No, you're good. You're good. I appreciate that. Definitely want to make sure we get the right credit there. Talking about the facilities, and just again, I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn here that Florida Atlantic fans don't realize. If you've ever been to the Borough, FAU Arena, it's a glorified high school gym. I mean, it is not the greatest of facilities. I just saw them practicing earlier today. MSNBC did a live hit there, and you look at the kids practicing in the background, it looks like my high school. I mean, it looks like your high school gym. If there's anything that in my mind is going to take Dusty May away from Boca, it's going to be that. There are people in Boca who can, give him a nice salary increase. It certainly won't be what he would get at the Power 5 level. But at the end of the day, to answer your question, where do I think he is next year? I just don't see how FAU facilities wise, unless they can put together something quickly, some sort of, promissory deal, kind of similar to what Lane Kiffin had at FAU. If you take a look at the football facilities at Florida Atlantic, it's amongst the best in Group of Five and could rival any Power Five, the new Smith Athletic facility that they have there. Lane Kiffin, that was something that when he came in, really kind of engineered that and pushed that forward. Of course, he didn't see that through. He left, but it now is in existence. Unless they can have some sort of promissory agreement that says, hey, we're going to take some funding that we have and put this towards increasing the basketball facilities. I just don't know how you can keep Dusty May there because he's such a good coach.
There is an X factor. It's still Boca Raton.
but hear me out. Chris, because I fell for that, right? Let me give you, a quick story. Conference USA Media Days 2019, if memory serves me correct. It should be 2019. I had a chance to talk to Lane Kiffin, and that was the first time I really interacted with him one-on-one. He sounded like a guy who was at ease in Boca, not dealing with the media scrutiny of SC or Tennessee and others. And I said, you know what? Maybe he's a guy who just truly loves coaching. And the fact that he can take his boat, from his house and, to travel up there to practice on the intercoastal, that gives him a measure of ease. But at the end of the day, when the money calls. I mean, money and resources do play a factor. So I would tread lightly with saying, listen, Boca's a great place to live. It's not bad. Despite the fact I have this hoodie on, it is 88 degrees outside. I'm sure that you can't be said for other places in the United States, but it's hard to compete with the resources.
Well, I guess it depends on what Mrs. Dusty May has to say on the matter, since she's the one who, according to this story, helped talk him off the ledge of quitting. So I'm just saying, if Mrs. Dusty May likes Boca enough, it may not matter what he wants to do. I don't know. We'll see. I think that's interesting though, because you're right. FAU is what it is. Now, obviously they're going to the AAC, so that probably makes some sort of a difference. But speaking of Conference USA, and as someone who's covered it all year yourself, we obviously pay very close attention to it. 15-1 in postseason play. We're not super surprised that Conference USA has been successful. Maybe surprised at this level of success, but not surprised that it's been successful at all.
No, sure, Chris. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, we take a look at the teams, even in the NIT. The argument could be made that those were fringe NCAA teams, if not teams that should have gotten in over other programs. I would very much say that when FAU was seeded, I didn't think they were a 9 seed. I thought they were a much higher seed than that personally. Now, of course, to flip it forward, we got to take a look at what the new Conference USA will look like with, as you mentioned, some of those teams heading to the American, including North Texas and Florida Atlantic. Still seems to be, have some potential as a basketball league, with Liberty coming in, some others, and obviously New Mexico State, I don't know what you can say about their year, but traditionally New Mexico State is a team down there in the pit, Las Cruces, that does play good basketball. So we have to see what the new Conference USA looks like. But yeah, as far as Conference USA and the incarnation this year, the final incarnation that we'll know it as, definitely a solid basketball league.
Almost reminds you of the heyday, doesn't it, Mo?
Yeah, exactly. Oh. By the way, I'm going to take a little credit for the fact that my alma mater is, to this point, the last team to beat FAU.
There you go.
So
that's a big deal.
It's gotten bigger as the postseason has gone too. So yeah, but I mean, they're on a roll right now, man, and it's tough to say. Well, they're not going to win either of potentially the next 2 games ahead of them at this point.
Psh, don't tell me that. It's crazy, man, but I'm looking forward to it. Eric, do you feel like Miami can handle UConn, and are you taking the over in this game? Because it looked like, I mean, based on what we've seen the last couple of days, the offensive shootout coming.
So I'll take the last question first. Yes, I am absolutely taking the over. Those are teams that can score the basketball, right? Which is nice in college basketball because You know, the scoring can have its droughts. But yes, absolutely think the Hurricanes can compete with UConn. Again, when you look at this team, for anyone who's not familiar with, you know, the team players on this roster, as I mentioned, 3 of the top 5 scorers were players who began their career at other places and were very good players. As I mentioned, Isaiah Wong, a perennial 20-point scorer. When he is hot, a very streaky player, someone who can, you know, fill the bucket up pretty quickly. And again, when you look at the Hurricanes as a whole, I think even you look at their last contest when they came back from being down 12 against Texas. In my mind, again, a team that is not going to quit and really well coached with Jim Larrañaga. So in my mind, as bizarre as it feels, I do think there's a very strong case that can be made that we could be looking at a Miami FAU national championship.
Unbelievable.
Watch out. That's all I got to say. Eric, thanks for taking time with us today, man. We appreciate it and look forward to talking with you again before football season for sure.
Anytime, fellas. Always appreciate y'all having me on.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more March Madness, men's and women's. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about Tennessee and playing musical pictures there. I always like that's always fun. We'll talk a little bit about Tennessee and their loss to Virginia Tech. We'll also talk about the rest of the bracket in the men's tournament as well. So stick around. Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back after this.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo bringing up a good point in the break there. It is International Whiskey Day for those of you who partake, and as you can see, I do on occasion.
And timing is everything.
And timing is everything. But also, if you do partake, obviously do it responsibly. We don't need any additional tragedies on the roadways today. So, yeah.
Personally, I can't afford it. So.
Yeah, no, it's just I'm gonna go to the closet here a little bit later and maybe take a small sip of something from Tennessee. Who knows?
Yeah. But do it responsibly.
Yes.
Do it at home, ideally, because it's cheaper there.
It is cheaper at home. There's no doubt that. Mo, let's talk a little bit more about the men's tournament. You know, I picked UConn to go to the Final Four. At least I got that right. And
congrats.
To this point right now, I'm in like the low 90th percentile on ESPN now.
Well, I mean, if you've got one Final Four team, that's gonna
with these teams,
this year that's gonna put you in pretty good shape. Because
now, if anyone has any of the other three advancing, then I'll go down because I obviously don't have UConn making the championship game. But yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. Like you said, we knew that it could get this way, and it has. I was a little surprised with the way that San Diego State kind of handled Alabama, but the officials in that game were kind of like the ones that Alabama had against Tennessee. They were letting them be a little bit more physical defensively, and Alabama struggles to handle that pressure sometimes, and they obviously did in the Sweet 16 game.
Well, I didn't get to see very much of that game. I don't remember what I was watching or doing instead, but I mean, it was my understanding that Alabama didn't shoot it especially well. And now, was that because of the nature of San Diego State's defense? Was that
kind of the same thing that happened in Knoxville? They just, obviously when every shot is, heavily contested, you're going to struggle. And Alabama does one thing. They're going to do one or the other. They're either going to take a shot at the rim or they're going to fog it up from three. That's their offense. That's the way it works. And 3-pointers that are contested, and Creighton, who, by the way, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country, at one point was 2 for 11 against San Diego State because of that. So San Diego State, I think, had the second best 3-point defensive field goal percentage in the country. And that's why they're in the Final Four. That's it simply. Now, I do think that Brandon Miller had a nagging groin injury that probably had something to do with, their inability to be as effective on offense as they probably have been all year. But I mean, San Diego State put it on them. They put the pressure on Alabama. They forced Alabama to, try to take contested shots, and Alabama couldn't deliver. And so now the Aztecs find themselves in the Final Four, as they should.
The Fighting Tony Gwynns.
There you go. And I want to mention the controversial call at the end of the game yesterday. I was following along Joe Rexroad's tweets, and he, his contention was that consistency has to matter, and they had let the guys play pretty well physical the entire game, and that seemed to be a ticky-tack foul with the game on the line. And I can understand that viewpoint. I get it. If it's not a foul in the first 5 minutes, it shouldn't be a foul in the last 5 minutes, and vice versa. But for those out there who haven't seen my tweets, I'm going to give you my perspective as someone who is an official. And this is the way that I look at it. Number one, it was a foul. I don't think anybody's disputing that by the letter of the rule, it was a foul. But an airborne shooter has to be protected in some way. His hand pushing, and what a lot of people are missing because they're focusing on the hand, is the hip check at the end that actually sent him flying. But two, the defensive player was beat. He was beat off the dribble and fouled to make up for it. And
in desperation.
You can't reward a defender who gets beat by swallowing the whistle there. You have to make that call. The offensive player did everything he could possibly do. And by not making the call, you have essentially said, sorry, I know you did your job, but I'm not going to do mine.
Right. And people always rely on, officials shouldn't decide the game in that situation. But if you don't make that call, you're
You
deciding the game as
potentially
well.
decided the game.
Yeah. So,
so that's where I'm at in this. I feel like we have to, I thought it was a gutsy call, as you saw there on the screen. I thought it was super gutsy, but it was definitely a foul, and it was a foul that I think had to be called.
yeah, I would not disagree. As you see it play out, I don't understand. Well, I do understand what the issue is in terms of the outcry, but it's a foul. See it, call it. That's pretty simple.
I get that they had been letting folks get physical all game, but it just, in that particular instance, you can't argue that the offensive player did his job. The defensive player tried to do something that, to save a play that he was beaten on.
Mm-hmm.
And then additionally in the Texas Miami game, they had the reversal of the foul that was initially called against Miami and then was reversed on replay against Texas. Absolutely another fantastic call by the official. Miami player goes up for a rebound. Texas player backs into him. That's a push all day long. A lot of folks don't realize this because they teach you this, or at least I was taught this in elementary school. When you box out, they teach you to put your butt on their legs and push. But if you displace your opponent, it's a foul on you. You can't push backwards. That's a foul. You can get position and you can stay there and you can go up and force them to come over your back. That's a good box out. But if you push them backwards and displace them, that's a foul on you every single time. So great call by the officials. It probably cost Texas the game, but it is what it is. That's on the player. That's not on the official.
Didn't get to see much of that one either because I was otherwise disposed.
You were,
yeah.
You were out there in at least the weather was nice.
The weather was fantastic.
You couldn't beat that.
Yeah, I mean, that made it a lot easier to go, and saw some pretty good girls flag football as well. So, yeah.
I was at a birthday party for my nieces, so that was fun.
Be careful. You never know who's watching.
I'm sure they are. But it's always a blast to go home. But yeah, so pretty good Sunday for basketball. I thought both games were just fantastic. Ending the San Diego State Creighton game, man, just saying, hey, clock didn't start on time. Once we take this stopwatch out and realize that it's 1.4, we're done. And I thought it was off Creighton anyway, so it was pretty much going to be impossible for Creighton to be able to get a tip in because San Diego State just throws it all the way down the court. Somebody touches it and it's over, right? I mean, there was no way that Creighton was going to be able to score there, but that was also gutsy. To just say, nope, we're done. Yep. Ball game.
Taking our ball and going home. Yeah.
So Final Four set. Women's Final Four will be set after tonight. For the first time in history, a 40-point triple-double from Caitlin Clark. And we've been talking about her all season long, Mo. I mean, she's at least one of the best 3 players remaining in this tournament. I don't think there's any question there. But is she the best? I think Virginia Tech's got a good one.
Virginia Tech does have a good one. You're talking about that Georgia Amore from Australia?
Yeah, I think she's a good one. And of course, Aaliyah Boston. Can't forget about her, reigning player of the year.
Yeah, you better not forget about Angel Reese either.
I forget that they won. So how about that LSU?
Full disclosure, not a huge Kim Mulkey fan, but Scott Rabelais, friend of the show, mentioned a line from her in the post game yesterday. She said that hasn't really hit her or hadn't really hit her then, and it would probably hit her today while she's eating crawfish, that I got to go pack again.
Well,
and
I wish I was eating
that
crawfish.
that struck a nerve.
That'll get you right there. You're like,
yeah.
hey, I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Go eat you some catfish, Kim. Some crawfish. I got you.
Not
I get
only,
it.
Mo, did I get new glasses, but you can't tell it, but I got a little sun over the weekend when I was eating that all-you-can-eat crawfish at Scoreboard in Nashville. So got a little sun. It's a little red on the forehead.
Hey, that's a rookie mistake. You got to be smarter than that. Just because it wasn't hot doesn't mean you can't burn.
Well, I didn't expect that we were going to be sitting outside.
Yeah, well,
at the event. So yeah, it's anyway. But obviously, Tennessee losing to Virginia Tech just built a huge hole in the first half.
They were down 9-0 before they scored. They were down 16-6 at one point, and I was just sitting there getting more and more disgusted. This isn't a point that I make very often, but I wasn't pleased with Tennessee's effort in the first half, and that's why I didn't watch the second half.
Well, if you weren't pleased with Tennessee's effort, I promise you Kelly Harper made it known that she wasn't pleased with it either. And it just felt like, they were kind of ho-hum. They were kind of settling for shots that they
were
shouldn't
settling for three-pointers big time. They were going long stretches without getting any inside touches, and it's unfortunate because I thought Hollingshead was a problem for Virginia Tech when she did get the ball down there, and they just didn't look to get it inside. They were settling for three-pointers. They were getting out rebounded miserably. It was tough to watch, so I didn't.
And so when you turned it off, apparently Kelly Harper made some adjustments at halftime, because there was someone who said that they could hear her on TV saying, "Who are we?" when they were fogging up so many threes, and she was clearly not happy with the offensive output. Second half, they come out, turn up the pressure, put a little pressure defensively on Virginia Tech, get it down to 53, 52, I think.
I don't know if I knew they got it down to 4 late. I didn't know they got it down to 1.
No, they got it down to 1, and they were on a 17-6 run at that point. And from that point forward, they were unable to get over the hump. Again, that deep hole they found themselves in at halftime, I think they were down 34-20 or 36-22, something like that at halftime, and just couldn't get out of it. Virginia Tech was able to hold off. Tough loss for Tennessee, but you can't tell me that wasn't the toughest region maybe in the history of women's college basketball tournaments, Mo. Virginia Tech, UConn, Ohio State, and Tennessee.
Yeah. And again, Tennessee had lost to each of the 3 remaining teams in that region semifinal. And that was some pretty high quality basketball being played there. And it's kind of unfortunate that Tennessee couldn't raise its game to that level. But I'll be interested to see who comes back. Again, don't think we've heard anything on Rakeia. No. Rakeia's coming back. Tamari's coming back. Still waiting on Jordan Horston, I guess. Yeah. So, yes. And she's projected as a top 3 pick if she goes. So
I think this is the positive for NIL in sports like women's basketball is you can almost make more money in the WNBA or in college than you can make in the WNBA at this point. So, depending on how that works out, I would love to see her back. I think that this team with all 3 of those pieces would be very difficult next year to stop all 4 of those pieces, I guess. 3. Yeah. And I think even though it's another Sweet 16 exit, it's still the Sweet 16. And I think Kelly Harper did a pretty good job coaching this team to it. So,
coming down the stretch, they looked better than they did earlier in the year. But I think in the end, it was still a matter of too much carelessness with the ball. And again, just shot selection.
But to me, the way that I saw Kelly react to that, I don't think that's certainly not what she's coaching them to do.
No, it's not what she's coaching them to do, but it's what they're doing.
Yeah. And so how do you measure that when you're talking about a potential coaching change? How do you measure?
I don't know that we're talking about a coaching change.
No, we're not. I'm just saying at that point that we were, if this was the first round game or whatever, or maybe Tennessee was a 9 seed or something and they, get beat like this. How do you measure that, knowing that she is clearly not coaching them to do this? She is very angry that they are doing what they're doing on the court. So how do you make that how do you measure that? How do you weigh those two things?
I don't know. I think the question has to be what do you do about that anger if you're the coach? How do you address that? I mean, if you've got players doing things that you don't want them doing,
I mean, typically,
how do you allow them to continue doing it?
Yeah, typically you would sit them down, but Tennessee doesn't have a lot of depth. It doesn't appear, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe they just need some depth, and obviously not having a signing class this year is not going to help improve that problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think it's an interesting conversation.
It is.
If you're talking about Kelly Harper and how her coaching style, it's very similar. I think to the way Pat coached. She certainly tries to light a fire and tries to I guess use.
I think the difference with Pat is Pat would have put the 15th player on the bench in the game to get the point across that if you're not doing what I want you to do, you're not doing us any good.
And somebody will, and they may not be able to do it.
And if we're going to lose anyway,
yeah.
We're going to lose doing it the way I want to do it.
My way. We're going to lose my way.
Yeah.
And I think that's that is a big point. And a lot of coaches, which I understand. A lot of coaches are afraid to do that. So can't be afraid.
No. We're
afraid.
The thing is, you got to tell the players, look, we're not winning playing your way. So we're going to try my way, and we're going to find 5 that will play my way.
Hey, I'm all in on that right there, and maybe going forward, Kelly will make that happen. All right, let's take a quick break. We need to talk a little Braves. It is time. We've got meaningful baseball this week. The Braves will be without 2 important pieces on their opening 2 series. So we'll talk about that as well. Stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bar and Joint. We'll come back after this.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
This is Chris Yow with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee Sports Editor, three-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best looking girl, Bananarama. So the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Years ago today, exactly, March 27th, 1973, the Atlanta Braves released for the last Major League pitcher to win 30 games, two-time Cy Young Award winner Denny McLain. The Braves had acquired McLain from Oakland the previous season in exchange for Orlando Cepeda. In 72, he went 3-5 and apparently did not looked to be much better in 73 spring training. That ended McLain's career. So on this day, former Atlanta Brave pitcher Denny McLain was released.
And that is This Day in Braves History. If you want to sponsor that segment or the Braves Chatter segment, you can do just that. All you have to do is give us a shout. We're not hard to find. We talk a little Braves now, Mo. And speaking of pitchers who won a lot of games, Kyle Wright, 21-game winner last year, will not start the season with the Braves on the opening day rosters. He will be on the IL retroactive to a few, I guess about a week ago. I'm not really sure exactly when it was, but he will not pitch in the first 2 series. Could be back for the first home series against the Padres. So that means the Braves will take or will not take 2 because they're not both going to be on the opening day roster, but 2 rookies will make their debut in the first 2 series, Mo.
Yeah, Wright will be eligible, according to ESPN.com, to come off the IL on April 11th against Cincinnati. I guess that's the opening day or the home opening series for the Braves. But yeah, Jarrett Schuster and Dylan Dodd will, as you said, not necessarily break camp with the Braves, but are expected to make their major league debuts during the 6-game road swing to Washington and where else? Cardinals, I guess?
Yes, St. Louis.
Yeah. So Schuster is expected to start Sunday against the Nationals. Dodd is expected to start on April 5th against St. Louis, at St. Louis. So And again, the Braves will play 6 games on the road before coming home for their home opener. And
par for the course.
Yeah, it's amazingly normal that Atlanta is one of the farthest south franchises in Major League Baseball, is one of the last to open at home. Make it make sense.
You can't.
Anyway,
now
let's move along.
Let's move along real quick. It's tough to see that Kyle Wright is not going to be ready to start, but I feel like the way that both of that Schuster and Dodd have pitched this spring has certainly given them, given the Braves the ability and flexibility to be able to use these two. I think both of them have pitched just phenomenally. I don't think they're both going to be obviously on the team, but certainly if the bullpen needs some help, as Raziel Iglesias is also on the IL, if they need to move one to the bullpen, I think they could. This is a good problem to have. We've been, a lot of folks griped for a long time. Why do we draft only pitchers? Only pitchers. All we do is draft pitchers. Well, this is why. We knew the farm had several great position players, Michael Harris, obviously the two that didn't exactly work out, but you felt like the farm was in good hands on position players. And so drafting pitchers was a huge deal, and it worked out. Spencer Strider, Schuster and Dodd. This is going to be a heck of a pitching staff. And some folks some folks are saying that the Gwinnett Stripers could win the AL Central.
Well, the AL Central is not very good, and so
our AAA team could compete at the major league level if they were in that division.
Sure, it's a thought. It's a thought for sure. But I mean, like you said, it's a nice problem to have. It's a cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason. You can't have too much pitching. I'm not terribly bothered by the fact that Kyle Wright isn't going to be on the major league roster to open the season, because
it's a marathon.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. You're not going to win anything the first week in April. And with those guys, I think you want to err on the side of caution, and it's a lot easier to not have him now than August.
Yeah, no question there. Looking forward to obviously the Thursday and opening day. I think it's going to be a really big week for the Braves. Obviously, with Orlando Arcia starting at shortstop. It looks like Eddie Rosario has found his vision, because dude is homered in like 3 straight days.
Well, and he hit pretty well in the WBC as well. I think
in the Classic. I think he's going to be the starting left fielder.
Well, they like to platoon out there, and I don't know who the right-handed side of that is. I'm interested to see what happens with Kevin Pillar, the ex-Met, among others, who was signed to a minor league deal over the offseason. I don't know.
And has also played well.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if he's, the other side of that platoon or what happens along those lines, but they've got some options. And
well, I mean, the fact is on top of that Marcell Ozuna has started hitting.
Yeah, and again, that's a good problem to have. You can mix and match in some spots, and as much as I hate the DH, I mean, you got one. I think that Sean Murphy, Travis d'Arnaud are probably your top candidates there. I guess Murphy's going to catch the majority of the time, but you've got to have d'Arnaud's bat in the lineup with some regularity. So it's and unfortunately, I've not gotten to watch as much spring training as I'd like to have. Thanks, Bally. So there are some things that I don't have a great feel for right now, but I'm looking forward to figuring out what's going to go on with this team early on.
I think that's why I'm so excited about Thursday, because I've also not been able to watch as much as I would like. So,
well, I'm gonna tell you, you ain't gonna get to see a whole lot Thursday either, because we're gonna be on location.
Well, that's true, but maybe we'll just have to stop and watch it. I don't know. We will be Thursday at First Horizon Park. If you missed the announcement on Friday, we'll be at First Horizon Park for the Sounds Media availability, and we'll be there doing the show live from hopefully the press box that we did it last time in, because that was a nice spot, good setup.
That was a really nice setup, and hopefully we'll be able to replicate that. Hopefully the sound administration can take care of us on that. So we'll see how that goes.
And before we get out of here, Mo, on this segment, want to, Justin, if you can play the video that I sent you in your Twitter DMs when I just slid into the DMs.
You slid into his DMs, yeah. Okay.
So if you don't mind, if you could play that for me, and just want to take a look at the City Connect uniforms and the video that was released this morning by the Braves.
Yes, got it right here. 1 second.
No, you're good.
Stalling.
Welcome to my city, it's the home of the brave. T-L-A-N-T-A. Welcome to my city, it's the home of the brave. Slap it out the park. World Series champions, Atlanta be the squad. Everybody in the dugout, you know we going hard. You can see the fireworks in the air. Smart, getting rich, red, white, blue, everybody staring. Hitting home run just like Hank Aaron, Atlanta shine with this team. Home base, slide like Sid Breeze. On a summer night, baseball, everybody watching.
That's awesome.
Now, the consensus around the league is these City Connect uniforms are pretty solid. And compared to all other City Connect uniforms, these are probably the best ones. The reason the Braves did this is because Major League Baseball basically said you can have 4 uniforms and a City Connect uniform. So in order to keep the throwback style, they had to make it a City Connect. And with this, inside the collar has the 715 from the scoreboard when Hank Aaron hit his 715th home run. And it also has what his the little quote that he would always sign with his signature that says "Keep swinging." And I think
it's pretty cool in that this is the 50th anniversary of Hank Aaron's 715th home run. That'll be on April 8th, which unfortunately the Braves won't be home. Or will they?
I'm not sure. But
yeah, they are. They're at home against the Padres that night. That should be huge.
Yeah, that'll be a big night. I think I'm going to say 2 things. We could have kept the other throwbacks and got rid of either the grays or the reds, and I wouldn't have been upset. Okay. But if this is the way we got to keep it, this is the way we got to keep it. And I think the way that they did it is it's in true Braves fashion, it's still professional while also being unique, if that makes sense. The Braves do that quite a lot. They like to, a lot of these teams have gone really wild with their city connects, but the Braves just kind of did some subtle things. You see the sleeve, taking the feather and putting the crown there, and obviously adding the, and then the uppercase script A, which I would rather have the lowercase, but I understand that they kind of had to switch it up. So
I like it. I think it's a good look.
I do too. I think if I'm grading it, I think it's an A. I'm probably not an A plus. Yeah.
You did there. That was good.
But I love it. I think it's a good look. I think the Braves, being able to utilize this is solid, and I'm excited to see him play. And I think it's going to be, again, I love the lowercase A, and I wish there was something that still had it on there, but I'll take this.
Now, when are they going to wear these?
I don't know. These
Sunday
are
home games.
See, they used to use the red on Sunday home games, so I don't know what.
But they used to use the red on Friday home games as well, I think.
Oh, see, I don't know. I mean,
yeah. So
I don't know what the plan is for when they're going to use them, but I mean, they're gonna be sweet no matter what. I love the red, white, and blue, and the royal blue really does wonders. So. All right. Before we get out of here, Mo, a couple things. One, the Preds lost twice this weekend. Seems like it's just time to keep losing.
I misspoke. I knew it didn't sound right when I said it. This isn't the 50th anniversary of 715. This is the 49th. So,
well, I was sitting there thinking I was like, the 2000 year always screws me up for reason. So I didn't know. You might have been right. I was
no, I wasn't. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. 49 though. There's still that. Preds lose twice, got destroyed by Seattle, and then nearly pulled it out against the Maple Leafs with an F. I thought the Preds played well enough to win against Toronto, but just couldn't put it in the net enough times. And according to someone, I don't remember who it was, I think it was Nick, and I can't remember his last name, starts with a K. Kreisky, or I don't know what his name is. Anyway, he said he believes the Preds need not. What's his name?
Nick Kaiser, I believe.
Yes, Kaiser. That's it. He said the Preds need 96 points, and they have 80 with 10 games to go, which means they would need to go 8-2 over the next 10 games. And that's it. Nick Kaiser, which is a 4.6 chance of making the postseason. So, they've got to do it without Yossi, without Forsberg, without Johansson, without pretty much anyone we ever heard of. So tough go of it. I say, the streak's going to end, but not without a fight. And I think that's pretty impressive, to say the least. Grizzlies keep winning. They destroyed Houston. And we asked that question, what was it going to be like to have the full array of talent against Houston? And clearly they showed out.
You figured it out. Yeah.
And won a close one against Atlanta as well. So they continue their stronghold in the West in that number 2 spot. Don't think it's going to be tough for them to get moved from that spot at this point. And finally, Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthen were on hand for Kentucky's Pro Day on Friday. I've seen a lot more folks talking about Will Levis to the Titans than I have Lamar Jackson. And I'm seeing a lot of folks who are on board with Will Levis to the Titans. And I'm sorry.
Who's on board with Will Levis to the Titans, and have they watched him play?
Apparently, You know, and it's so funny because if you have anything denoting your allegiance to Tennessee in your bio, the folks who say that are like, yeah, your bias is clearly not showing. No, it's not about bias.
No bias. You want the best possible quarterback if you're going to draft one, and Will Levis is not it.
He's a project, and we already have a project. We don't need another one. We don't need another one.
And for whatever shortcomings the project that is already in Nashville has, throwing it to the other team isn't among them.
Right. So let's just nix that, please. Please stop with the Will Levis to Tennessee. It's not happening. Unless it's in maybe the 6th round. Anyway, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And we'll also have 2 great guests, Grant McCauley. We'll talk Braves and Chip Walters. So join us then on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, have a good one. We'll see y'all next time.